Hello, you all. Welcome to this fantastic episode on building the modern employer brand podcast, where today I have not one, but two guests with me. My colleague Nora, who you've met over the past 2 weeks, and then we'll be bringing in Maiju Karppinen from Airbus Finland, who is our client. We've been working with her since early last year, but day to day, we've been working with her since August 2023. And our employer branding collaboration has already led to winning an award. Isn't that amazing, Nora?
Yeah, it truly is. Yeah, I'm so proud of her, and I'm so excited to be your co-host today.
Yes, you're my co-host. So what are we going to ask from Maiju today? What shall we ask?
We should ask about her career and how she has developed in employer branding, and also how does she feel about our collaboration with her, and what are her learnings along our journey. And I think we can start with those. So
let's start with those, and then I want to know how she splits her time between employer branding role, and then she has other roles as well that we hope she'll let us know and share with us. But obviously, I think that's something that many people who start to work with employer branding kind of struggle. Like, how do I find time for everything? So I think this is going to be a fun thing to talk to her and see what she says. We've never asked her that, have we? No. So this is going to be the first time for us to hear that as well.
Exciting.
Yeah. Okay. So without further ado, let's welcome Maiju to our show. Hey, Maiju. Hey, Nora. Welcome to the show with us, Maiju, and congratulations winning the Strategy Award very recently for creating an employer brand at the Magnet Employer Brand Awards here in Finland. Also, congratulations for being a finalist yourself for the Employer Branding Professional of the Year In-House Award, which Nora here won for the agency side. So you were both competing for not the same award, but the same award, but for different segments, I guess. So can we start this exciting episode with you introducing yourself to our lovely audience?
Yes, sure we can. So hi everyone, very excited to be here today. So my name is Maiju Karppinen. I work at Airbus Defence and Space OI as an HR business partner, and I've been working with Airbus for a little bit over 4 years now. And my current scope of responsibilities is quite broad. So obviously at this point you already know that I'm working with employer branding, but in addition I work with work well-being and workability topics. And then I also work as an HR business partner for dedicated organizations. So I support them with their local HR matters in Finland. So safe to say my role is quite diverse, and that's what keeps it really, really interesting.
I guess we'll dive into more of your role in a little bit. But let's talk about your professional journey and how it led to working in employer branding, because our audience obviously is interested and excited about employer branding themselves. So I think you make an exceptional example of somebody who's had such a diverse role in HR, and now you work with employer branding as well.
Yeah, sure. So we'll need to jump back in time for a couple of years. So I think that my story is quite traditional in terms of that when I grew up, I wasn't that sure about what I actually want to work with or what I want to do. So in the beginning of my career, I wasn't entirely sure what I want to specialize in, what I want to do. This problematic, if I may call it that, led me to study HR in Stockholm University because it combined a lot of interesting aspects ranging from psychology to pedagogics, economical topics, labor law, and so on. So that's how I ended up in HR. And then I moved back to Finland, and soon after that, I started at Airbus as an HR and communications trainee. And then a bit later on, I was offered the permanent position of an HR business partner. And my role has always been quite broad. So it's a little bit of an accident, maybe, that I ended up with employer branding. I've always thought that the topic is really, really interesting. But it was when I got the permanent position as an HR business partner when it then became one of my responsibility areas. And that's when I started to dig in and dive in there a bit more thoroughly. So there has been some, luck in my journey that I just was presented with the opportunity to work with the topic, and I eagerly took it because I think that employer branding is also something that combines so many different aspects. So that's what's really interesting in it for me.
That's funny because you talk about like selecting HR as your educational sort of degree, and then accidentally ending up in employer branding. When I went to university in England, I studied marketing and communications, PR, and I ended up in HR very accidentally. And I guess kind of moving from HR to employer branding and other talent marketing has been for me to going back to the original roots of marketing and communications that I wanted to build my career on, but then accidentally ended in HR and found myself loving that domain. So I didn't actually know about this. We have kind of a funny connection there. I guess accidents can be lucky coincidences helping you to find your career path. And that's actually something that I've always wanted to also talk to people younger than me, that you don't need to know what you will do for the rest of your life when you go study, or even when you start your career. Most, for example, business degrees allow, or many other degrees too, but allow you to kind of take a very versatile and broad sort of angle to your career, building it more from the generalist side, and then kind of through learning and through experience, finding your path, finding your niche, and figuring it out. So that's very, very important that we all remember that. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I don't know yet.
But I think, that's what makes life exciting and interesting.
Exactly.
You never know what's waiting for you behind the corner.
Exactly. Yes, it's the day. Exactly.
And that was funny, actually. You mentioned the psychological and pedagogic aspect, and I think that also connects us as here. So we want to understand people and are interested in people and like to guide and educate people. So
exactly. That's in the core of what we do in employer branding.
So. And when you have worked in HR, you actually you sit on the top of so much people information that unfortunately I feel like many HR people don't even realize and don't really even leverage for the most part. There's so much stuff that we kind of study our people and our candidates, whether it's sort of tests that a personality or skills tests, or the market data insight that we may get from our company in our talent market, or any internal data from employee satisfaction surveys to development discussions and to exit interviews. And there's so much data that we have about people that is really useful in understanding not just the HR role, but also, employer branding. So it's, I always say, many people tell me, so what kind of studies and research should we do? I was like, I don't think you need to do much. You already have a lot of data. Let's just start by digging through that and seeing what people already say about you and think about you. So that's something I think that we should all, anyone who's working in HR or talent acquisition should remember, that there's a lot of people data, and we're very lucky, I think, to have that treasure. Now that we've been working together for a little bit over a year, and quite closely, I would say. So you mentioned that obviously employer branding wasn't where you started. You got that role, and then at some point us started to work together. Have you changed your view on employer branding, or what have you learned about employer branding as you've gotten more like deeper and deeper into it?
Yeah, that's a good question, and safe to say I've learned a lot. So it definitely has shaped also my perception on employer branding, and I think that working with you has, well, it has taught me a lot of things, but maybe the most important lesson that I've gotten to learn how to build an employer brand like strategically, systematically. So that's like my number one highlight of the journey we've had with you. And maybe because you can approach employer branding from so many different aspects, like you can see it as marketing, you can see it as communications. And I had, obviously, because of my background and my role, I had a really typical HR focus, so to say. So now to get to learn from you also more from the marketing and communication side is something that has been really, really new to me. And it has changed the way that I see employer branding. It has been really, really interesting.
That's lovely to hear. What's your biggest lesson of learning? What would you say? Well, is there anything like that yet that you've really I totally didn't know this, or totally changed my opinion on this, or changed my mind on this?
I don't know if it has been any like that kind of surprises, but maybe one additional key takeaway is that with you, we work a lot with employer branding, like the data. And that was something I did not utilize to the extent that we do nowadays. So that's also one very important factor of this journey and the key lessons that I've gotten from you.
Yeah. And you do like the data, don't you?
I do like the data. To a point that it's almost a bit problematic because, I go into LinkedIn and Instagram a bit too often to see how the posts are performing. And I keep a very close eye on the reactions, the engagement, impressions that we get. So, but it's also good because then I can, sell it forward in the company.
That's true. Yeah, you can sell it forward, and it's so rewarding, isn't it?
It's really
see.
Exactly. Really rewarding. Obviously, we've had really great numbers, very exceptional numbers, maybe even. So it gets you hooked.
It does, and that's something that we always tell our other clients as well. That because I think Nora can agree with me that when we start working strategically with many of our clients, I think that the most common reaction to the conversions and the data is kind of like, no, we're not ready for this. And it seems like I feel that a lot of people in HR are scared of data and scared of measuring the impact of their work. Obviously, it's been 16 years since I last worked in-house in HR. But I remember during my entire career as an in-house HR, it was often discussed that HR work cannot really be measured. And I think that we can measure everything. I don't know, for some reason, there seems to be this kind of a aspect that it's somehow intimidating or scary to look at the data. But I think that you've also learned, through our journey together, that employer branding is such a long game, and you don't have that similar fast result kind of peak or spike or whatever that you get from recruiting, where you post the vacancy and it's only week or 2 or 3 weeks at most. And then you have the applications or you don't have the applications, and you know what happened. But with employer branding, you have to work quite intensively for months and months and months on before you start seeing any traction. And you probably don't get any feedback from your boss or anyone else, because externally it takes even longer to kind of comprehend that something is changing. So the only place where we can give each other feedback is through data. And it's so rewarding and so motivating and easy as well. If you just like take it openly, that these are the things that we are looking at, and this is what these mean, and this is how that impacts our work day to day as we work on this. So it's been a really, even though you always say like, oh, I look at the data again, I'm sorry to say that, but it's fun for us that you've gone at least as crazy about data as we are, because it's just so rewarding to learn from how our audiences are behaving based on our posts, what we choose to post. And that really reflects to our decisions as we go forward and decide like, okay, what are we going to post? How are we going to plan the post? What are the messages? Are they working? What's not working? What are like your comments on LinkedIn or your post on LinkedIn get a lot of comments. And those comments have a lot of information for us as well. So that's also something that is important to like look at the comments, read the comments, encourage people to comment more, comment back, have those conversations. Those conversations in the comments is the most important way on LinkedIn to boost the algorithm to show it organically even more. And I think that we've been very successful in that, thanks to your, the Airbus Finland employees, that they've like, I wouldn't say slowly, because in comparison to many other organizations, they've been very fast at getting on board with us. But in a way, they're finding their way of like, and understanding the routine. When are we going to post a new one? When is there going to be a new employee branding post, and what is it going to be about, and who's going to be on it, and what is it, what's the message, and who's going to comment on it, and what are they going to say? And it's so lovely to see like all the way up to your top management that everyone is just contributing and commenting on those posts. And it's like a really, like we're doing this together, like everyone.
I must say that right from the start, you've grasped the EB strategy exceptionally well. Every time you mention our EB strategy, the goals and the KPIs and the data, I'm like, yes, she really gets this. So that makes us really happy. So,
happy to hear.
I wanted to mention that. So
what were you gonna say, Maiju?
I was just going to say, going back to the comments that we see on especially LinkedIn, it's so rewarding because it also gets, obviously data and we can utilize that, but it's also, on an emotional level, like that the people like the posts and they want to engage, and that gives me the feeling that we are really successful with what we do because they want to interact with them. So that's like among the best rewards that you can get from this job as well.
Absolutely. The worst ways of doing employer branding is to make it a campaign created by someone who doesn't really understand your audience, and then turning your employer branding into something what we call make believe, that it's not the real thing. It's not the real brand. It's something that maybe the management or the marketing or the HR desires, or maybe it was the agency, advertising agency or marketing agency or employer branding agency who sold you the idea and it just sounded fabulous. But then you don't see people engaging on that because they can't relate to it. I think that's one of the reasons why your people are contributing and, taking part in this, is because it's about them. It's not about Airbus. It's about them. When we started collaborating, let's talk about the strategy now. We did create that magnetic employer branding strategy. And obviously now the day-to-day work is the actual implementation and executing the strategy. So the work didn't stop to, getting that plan ready. The work started when we had the plan. So can you remember, what did you expect this execution, like this day-to-day work that we do, what kind of expectations did you have about it, and were you scared, like how you're going to fit this into your schedule of all your other commitments at work? Do you remember still?
Yeah, for sure. I can maybe like answer to this question from like two different kind of angles. So, well, first of all, I came to this whole, collaboration with the mindset of having like an empty canvas in a way, because I heard earlier that like you guys at Emine are the best there is in Finland. So I also wanted to absorb all of the knowledge I possibly could get from you. So it was a bit like intentional also not having that many expectations going into it, because I was just curious to see what happens and what we actually do and so on. But yeah, obviously when we started the implementation, I was a bit worried about how much time it would require from me. I was a bit nervous on how I would find the time for it among other responsibilities. So yeah, you're completely right there. But it came as a positive surprise that the implementation and the content creation doesn't need to be that time consuming. So obviously it comes down to the strategy, and we have a planning base. So it obviously helps us a lot with the time that we need to invest in the actual implementation phase. So yeah, it has been a bit easier than I first thought, if you think about like how much time you need to invest to it. And then maybe also I was really interested in the whole implementation phase, but I was also positively surprised on how fun it is, like how much I actually enjoy it. I love that I get to be so creative. I love that I get to work with our colleagues or my colleagues internally at Airbus. So it doesn't really feel like work. And that's something that I'm like super excited and happy about.
That I have to say, that is a great benefit for us as well when we work, because we work like 100% with employer branding. That's really all we do. So it's a great benefit for us to have a job where pretty much everything we get to do is fun and exciting and motivating. But there's also a downside to that, what we've noticed. Many times when something is so fun and exciting, it kind of takes you, may not even notice that, oh, we have to stick to the plan and not like just start doing all kinds of random stuff because, people get ideas, you get ideas, and all of a sudden, like, you notice like, oh, did we have a plan? We're just like gone completely off the grid. So talk to us about your kind of personal views and experiences of working with the plan. Is it limiting you, or?
No, I think that because the plan that we have in base it's so comprehensive. We have a huge like content, how would you put it, like a backlog of content ideas. So I think it's more actually not limiting, more inspiring. You can go to our communication plan, start scrolling, start seeing like, okay, what would I like to do next? What would be nice to implement today? So I really haven't thought that it would be limiting in any way. And obviously during this journey, so we have been hosting or doing the implementation phase for 9 months approximately now. So obviously at times we have been a bit flexible. We have come up with ideas also outside of the plan. So it's not like they would be completely off the radar, so to say. But with every post that we've done outside of the actual content plan, we've still found a way to link it to the strategy. And I think that's the key. And that's something that you guys are really, really good at. And you guys have been helping me a lot with that. And then at times I have been taking, like maybe with Insta stories, I have been taking some freedoms and posting something, not asking from you in advance. So at times I do go a little bit, outside the box in terms of
that. But like, we have also done that without asking from you. Being a little bit flexible with like, let's put this one there. I have to tell to our audience that Maiju, who deserves all the attention for her great work in this, in employer branding for her organization, she is quite timid showing her own face. So to have her on this video for this podcast, what we actually did is like I started to promote Maiju's appearance on this podcast before we asked her if she would want to be on it. Because we just, like wanted to in a way encourage like, hey, let's do this. But fortunately for us, she was very excited to join. And we've done some posts about you as well without asking for your permission, because we know you would have said like, no, my face has been there too much, but we knew it was the right time to do that kind of post. So
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just like commenting on that, because for me it has been I've been thinking a lot about the authenticity of the brand, and then I've been also thinking a lot about, okay, how often my face is visible on our pages, and does it affect the authenticity in some way? So maybe that's like the key problem, so to say, that I have been facing with this, but then you have been like maybe encouraging me a little bit that it's fine. It would be too linked to me as a person, like our brand wouldn't be too linked to me as a person, even though I would be there every now and then with my face on the
post. I don't think there is anything to worry about, as long as okay, of course sometimes you are the actual hero of that post, but then it's also about you being the broadcaster to your organization, kind of like the news anchor. That it's your face, but it's not about you. You are telling something about your organization and letting your audience in to your employer branding story in a way that you're just being like a news reporter. It's not always about you either. So I think that it's important to also remember that sometimes it is about you. You are sometimes the hero talent in the story, and sometimes you are the news anchor letting people to see something about you, kind of inviting your audience into that employer branding story, but it's about your audience meeting the brand. You're just the one opening the door for them. So it's important also to differentiate that.
And that's a very, very well, or very, very well phrased. So that's exactly what it is about. But it doesn't help that you have a modest personality as well, because at this work, at times you need to take, the space and so on. So that's also something that we have been working on with you too.
Yeah. But there's
you
a
have
difference
developed in that massively during the year.
Yes, you have. All right, let's jump into a different kind of topic. I wanted to ask you about your experiences of working so closely together with us on the agency side, because I think it's very untypical in the HR world, because most of the time, if you are actually collaborating with somebody externally, it's more like buying services or that somebody else will do, and then you're not like part of it. But we've actually formed our little employer branding team together, where we work side by side equally, doing pretty much the same things with like slight little adjustments, because some of the things we can do and you have to do them, but like in others. So what's your can you talk to us about your experience in this kind of a funky little internal external employer branding team?
Yeah, sure. And maybe as a background to our listeners, so I have an amazing team also internally, and an amazing HR team, and I have 4 amazing colleagues who I get to work with on a weekly basis. But I almost work more with you, so Susanna and Nora, than my internal colleagues. At times, especially, I have more contact with you. So I think that really tells how tight the collaboration between us is. So you can say that basically on a daily basis, we work together. And if our listeners have been following any of us on social media, I'm sure that they have noticed that the collaboration between us three is just something really magical. So it has been really easy to work with you, and I think we work really well as a team. But maybe circling back a little bit, so we basically about 2 years ago we realized that we really needed an external partner, and we really needed like your expertise to be able to succeed in crafting an employer brand. So that's one of the reasons why we indeed work quite tightly, and that you take a lot of my workload as well regarding this topic, and it's something that makes it possible for me to focus then also on other areas internally within the company. But I'd still say that like the biggest benefit I've received from our collaboration is related to the way you work. And this is something that I've said many times before, and I'm going to say it many times in the future as well. But like, you're not only partnering with me to create a strategy for the company and to create content, but you're really like coaching, inspiring, encouraging me to do better as well. And there's like no form of gatekeeping. You guys are so open and eager to share from like your knowledge, and it has really helped me to develop a lot as a professional. So I would definitely say that it has been really valuable to have the external partner, to have someone outside of the company with a different view and a different kind of expertise to work on the topic. So it has been really beneficial. And what I also like is that you really also challenge me, you push me in a very positive way. You can be a bit demanding, so it really helps me to reach those like new levels in my work and in my role as well.
Love hearing that. Yeah. We do have a special collaboration. I would say that this would be possible with any of our clients. It's not something that we would only like intentionally give to you. But I think what makes this so special is you, to be honest, because as a client, you give back and you trust us. And in the beginning, when you said that you have this, that you came into this with this like an open canvas, I think that is one of the key reasons why we have been so successful together. Not just the three of us, but also your colleagues, at the company, because I think if we've ever had any obstacles with other clients, it has to do with not being so open, like having these, not being open with us, not letting us in, not like absorbing everything that we are giving to all of our clients, and limiting sort of the willingness to kind of listen to what we recommend to work. And that, I think that has probably been, reasons with some of our clients that we haven't been so successful, that they have sort of put these barriers up and not wanting to like take everything that we are offering. But you haven't done that. You have been so open and so like motivated to work side by side with us in equal roles. And I'm not saying that we have done everything that we have recommended or suggested, because there has been also areas where it wasn't possible, or there was a company rule, or something had to be changed, which is totally normal and totally acceptable and totally like, of course that happens. But still, we've worked around those and made sure that whatever is not possible, how can we make it possible for us, within those boundaries? So I think that has been very exceptional also for us, that it's so open, so transparent, and so like trusting in both ways. Yeah. And we've had these experiences with some other clients in the past as well. And those are always the times when we feel like like the work becomes so meaningful for us as well, because we also feel like we matter to you, and that's equally important to us than it is for you. I want to go back to something that I know that our listeners want to or are wondering oftentimes. When you start doing such an consistent employer branding work, how does that fit into your schedule? So can you elaborate how you actually fit all of those, being a business partner and employer branding on the well-being and everything that you have to do, or everything that's within your job description? How do you fit everything, and how much time would you say that you spend, maybe in percentages or some kind of like an estimate of your week, into employer branding the way that we do?
I need to start off with saying that I have been very lucky in a way that my employer and my manager have allowed me to invest a lot of my time to this topic. So actually, my scope of responsibilities, it was a bit wider when we started this work, but we were able to reorganize our team a little bit, which allowed me to invest more time on this. And it's a bit difficult maybe to say how much time I spent on this weekly, because even though you recommend it, I haven't scheduled specific time slots for this work, because I really try to build on those moments when I actually feel really inspired to do it, because I think that it's then also visible in the work that I do. But I say that maybe one of the key things here is that working with you is quite flexible. So whenever I have the time for it, some week I may put more effort into it, meaning that during some weeks we might prepare a little bit like a bigger social media publication backlog. And it carries us during those weeks when I have a lot of something else and my focus is elsewhere, so that then we have something to post, and then our cooperation might be a bit more, silent during those few weeks. And then when the other topics ease up a little bit, then I'll get back to the employer branding topic, and then we start again. But there is like that flexibility and fluctuates a little bit. So I think that it's all about, or for me, it has been about finding that kind of balance and thinking a bit beforehand, or planning a bit in advance, so that we are prepared when life throws something urgent into my plate. So maybe that's one of the key things. But if you really want a number, I don't know what I would say. On a weekly basis, from 1 to 2 days a week, I'd say I spend on the topic, depending a little bit. It varies from week to week, obviously.
Yeah.
But I also want to say, I don't want this to sound like I underestimate the time or effort that it needs to be able to succeed with this. So it does take hours weekly, but somehow I've managed to find that balance between this and other duties. And maybe partly because it's so fun to do this. I truly enjoy it, and I want to do it as well. So I think there are many aspects contributing to the matter.
Yeah. And I have to say that part of the purpose of having that plan and having like this systematic process, we have a process of what we're doing and how we're doing it. That helps save time, obviously, because if you always had to like sit down and start planning, like, what should I be posting about? Well, I don't have any ideas right now, so I'll come back tomorrow and try another hour of figuring out what I'm going to post. So it's very systematic, and the consistency is possible because we have a plan and we have a structure and we have this routine. We have scheduled slots every single week when we post. So that kind of helps us to keep this, this flow and this motion on, that I have to like create this system for myself based on the structure that this method provides us. I mean, it's the same way for us as well, that we wouldn't be able to do this with you or for your organization, for our other clients, for our own brand, if we didn't have that kind of a systematic approach to it that helps us, that we really know, like, okay, now I have an hour, this is what I'm going to do. So that's, I guess, one of the value. Now, every journey obviously has its triumphs and its challenges. Have you had any struggles or challenges during this time of building the employer brand? And or what are your key victories?
Well, maybe I'll start with the victories. Actually, so well, obviously, being awarded in the Magnet Awards this year was something that I didn't even like dare to wish for. But however, I must say that the truly like rewarding moments have been when I've been working with our internal employees and seeing like how excited and engaged they are to participate in this work. And I've gotten a lot of positive feedback internally, and I always send you screenshots about it, so I share a lot of that with you as well. But really seeing like that the work we do is really meaningful for also for our employees, that's really rewarding. So I've been able to create a channel where I get to give the spotlight and the positive feedback and the moment of glory, so to say, to these talent heroes. And I think that has been the most rewarding for me, like personally. And then I must be maybe a bit boring to say that I don't really come up with any major struggles. Like, obviously, at times you have that stress that, okay, you need to, because I need to do my part in order for you to do yours. So there is at times this kind of, I wouldn't say pressure or stress, but maybe that's the most challenging thing. But I don't see that as anything too major. I think it has been really smooth sailing. Although of course I've needed to put in some effort to get even more internal buy-in. But yeah, as I said, smooth sailing, and I've been very lucky in terms of that as well. I think the time was quite right for us to start working on the brand, considering the feedback and the what's the word for it? Well, feedback that we've received for the work. So
yeah, and I would say that because your organization is going through the transformation, and there's a lot of questions in the air also internally, which are not addressed externally, of course. I find that in a way, like doing those stories and talking about not just obviously about the transformation as well, but about other stuff as well, it looks to me like it has had some kind of a uniting role in a way during the transformation that your business is going, because transformation is always hard, all the changes that are going and the uncertainties. And I guess in a transformation time you can't really communicate enough, and still some people feel like I have no idea why we're transforming or what's happening in my role next. So I kind of feel that as you said, that the time is right. I think that this has had some kind of a reminding effect to your people that even though you're going through a massive change in the business, like look at everything that we're doing together and what we've achieved. And I feel that externally it looks like that too.
Yeah, and since you mentioned the internal buy-in, I think that's really important aspect in employee branding, and I think it's the beauty of it that you are able to change opinions and perspectives of people, even though you face resistance at first, and that is actually very common that people might be a bit suspicious at first, but when they learn what employee branding truly is and what we are aiming for and why they are playing an important role in building the employee brand, the opinions often change. So yeah,
it does. All right, last question before we set you all to your jobs. What ambitions do you have for your own career?
That's a tricky question. It's a fun question. But yes, I do have ambitions. I do have aspirations. Obviously, I want to develop myself as an HR professional, or even maybe marketing or comms professional, want to take my career to new levels. But maybe circling back to where we started this podcast episode. So my philosophy regarding this is also a bit linked to what we already discussed. So I believe that good things do come, and that you cannot plan, or you don't need to plan for everything. So I'll be happy to hop on board on or to interesting opportunities whenever they present themselves. So I don't plan too much in advance, but I'm really eager to see what life has to offer. And obviously for now, I'm really eager to continue building on the brand and making it even more intriguing to both our internal and external talent audiences, because there's still so much to learn in terms of employer branding. So I surely hope that's something I get to continue with in the future as well.
Wonderful. All right. If anybody wants in our audience to connect with you, what's the best way to connect with you on social media?
Yes, I would be happy to connect. So LinkedIn is probably the best channel. So you'll find me there with my name, Maiju Karppinen. And maybe circling back to the ambitions that I have. So one humble wish is that maybe someday I would also get to pass forward like the knowledge that I've received now during this work that we have been making. So I would be very happy to connect, share more of my story, share more of Airbus story, to help others in similar situations as well. So feel free to send me a contact request.
Cool. We'll put the link to Maiju's profile on the show notes article for this episode. That's all for this week. As said, I'm going to go on a little hiatus with this podcast so that I can finish the book. And I'll hope not to make it too long. Should be back latest after summer. But until that, keep listening and keep connecting and having conversations with the three of us on social media. So, alrighty. Thank you, everybody. And moi moi.